Hello, this is Carlos from the Church of Christ channel. Please subscribe. So today, I'm going to do a real conversation, and this is going to be careful of perpetual fault finders, especially people that find fault with something senseless, all right? All right, this is Mark chapter 7, okay? And for context purposes, I'm going to be talking about when the Pharisees and certain of the scribes found fault with unwashing hands. Okay. This is Mark chapter 7, and I'm gonna give you other clips on why this tradition was ridiculous. Okay. This is Mark chapter 7. The Bible says in verses 1, then came together unto him the Pharisees and certain of the scribes which came from Jerusalem. And when they saw some of the disciples eat bread with defiled, that is to say, unwashing hands, they found fault. Okay, pay attention to that. For the Pharisees and all the Jews, except they wash their hands often, eat not, holding the tradition of the elders. Okay, so they didn't eat because unless they wash their hands often. I'll show you why this became very rigid, this tradition. Okay. All right. And when they come from the market, except they wash, they eat not. And many other things there be which they have received to hold, as the washing of cups and pots, brazen vessels, and of tables. Then the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, why walk not thy disciples according to the tradition of the elders, but eat bread with unwashed hands? And he answered and said unto them, well hath Isaiah prophesied of you, hypocrites, as it is written, this people honoreth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. Howbeit in vain do you worship me, teaching for doctrine the commandments of men, for laying aside the commandment of God, you hold the tradition of men, as of the washing of pots and cups, and many other such like things you do. And he said, full well you reject the commandment of God, that you may keep your own tradition. Okay, so now I want to skip down to verses 15. I do encourage you to read the whole chapter, all right? So there is nothing from without a man that enters into him can defile him. But the things which come out of him are those things that defile him. Now, they talked about defilement as far as unwashed hands, but what does Jesus say? And he said that which cometh out of a man, verses 20, that defiled the man, for from within, out of the heart of men proceed evil thoughts, adulteries, fornications, murders, thefts, covetousness, wickedness, deceit, lasciviousness, an evil eye. Basically, an evil eye in the Aramaic is an idiom meaning stinginess, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these evil things come from within and defile the man. So I'm going to stop right there, okay? So be careful dealing with people that want to find fault and they're perpetual fault finders, especially something that is senseless. These Pharisees and these scribes have found like senseless fault with the Jesus's disciples not washing their hands, because they had the wrong interpretation of what it meant to be defiled or unclean before God. They thought that keeping this tradition of the elders would make them clean, but Jesus said no. He said it's not something that comes. Um, he said it right here. There's nothing from without a man that enters into him can defile him. So the food and all of those things, that's not true defilement according to the law. Okay, but he said the things which comes out of him, those are the things which defile the man. And he talks about here all those things, the evil things that come out of the man, those things are what defile the man. Now, these next clips, I'm going to show you why this tradition of the elders with this unwashed hand was ridiculous. So all right, so now you'll see this is the Talmud, and we're going to look at the Mishnah. But pay attention to those items that's highlighted. It says, whoever eats bread without first washing his hands is as though he had sinned as a harlot, or sinned with a harlot. Whoever makes light of the washing of hands will be uprooted from the world. Then it goes into saying a person who despises the washing of hands before a meal is to be excommunicated. And then it talks about at the bottom not giving a drink. You can drink from the cup of water, but you can't hand it to your fellow if they didn't follow the tradition, even if it was a danger to their life. All right, so this is how rigid this became. Let's look at something else in the Talmud. It says at the top, the washing the hands must likewise be performed immediately on rising from bed, and to admit doing so was held to be injurious to health. A hand which touches any part of the body without first being washed on waking up in the morning, it says deserves to be cut off. Then it says at the bottom, the hands remain in that dangerous condition until the person washes them 3 times. This is the Mishnah. And in the introduction on the hand washing, it does talk about that the Torah says nothing about the ritual washing of hands or any specific uncleanliness which adheres to the hands. And so therefore we have to believe Jesus' words when he says that this was added and there was no original commandment of God. Let's look at also something else in the Mishnah where it talks about the Dead Sea Scrolls have revealed how compulsive and rigid the whole process of purification by water had become. Now let's go back to the Mishnah and focus on what's highlighted. He said unto him, so this rabbi came to this other rabbi and said unto him, Yoshua, do you not know that I'm old and my life depends on your life? No one else brings me water, so if you bring me less than I need, my life is in danger. And think about the other passage back in the Talmud where it talked about that, where I highlighted 3, one at the top, the middle, and the bottom. And here's the issue of life again, okay? And so look at what was said on the next slide. He said, give me water that I may wash my hands. And then he goes down and says, what can I do for transgressing the words of the sages and eating without first washing hands? One is liable to receive the death penalty. And so it is better that I should die on my own thirst than transgress the opinion of my colleagues. And you see how bad that is. And this is what Jesus was trying to stop.